all Johns off this week.
2 out of 3, babe.
I've heard that before. Somebody ought to make a song out of that.
Oh, yeah, I know. Tell me about it.
I'm Steve West. That's Matt Nicholson. Thank you very much for joining us on this weekend. Busy weekend. Next weekend should be fairly busy as well, just to say. We're planning on going to Nashville.
If not.
Again. Except this time it's not Nashville Super Speedway. This time we'll be going to Nashville Fairgrounds.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of a busy weekend next weekend.
Yeah, because I think you're going to try and make it over to Atlanta on Sunday.
There's no try to it, I am.
You are going to Atlanta. So Saturday night, Nashville Fairgrounds. Sunday for Matt. Unfortunately, I will not be able to go.
Yeah.
But Sunday, Atlanta. So there you go. Next Sunday, for those who know me from other places, let's just say that, you know that I'm on a competitive trivia team.
Mm-hmm.
We have our regional finals next Sunday afternoon. So,
doggone it, Spud. Come on, man.
And here's the thing. Spud just said he can't go.
I can hear him saying, now somebody's got to pull the chain.
So Sunday, that's all right. So we're looking for a fill-in, just to say. But yeah, next weekend's going to be busy. This weekend, we got plenty to get to because of next weekend. Coming up here in about an hour, we're going to be talking to Mr. Bob Sargent, who is the race promoter of the Superstar Racing Experience race coming to Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway next weekend. So looking forward to talking to him here in just a little bit. So let's get into it and get into the news here. Starting our recaps last week, 1 week ago today, Xfinity Series at the aforementioned Nashville Super Speedway, amazingly hot. But so was Justin Allgaier. He led 5 different times for a total of 134 laps. At times, it just kind of looked like he was playing cat and mouse with the field. It was kind of like just toying with him, trying to give him a little bit of hope, and then he would just, jump on it. At the end, Allgaier bested Trevor Bayne by over 4 seconds. Bayne was pretty impressive himself, overcame an interference penalty in pit road, got back up to second place. Riley Earpst is one of those guys who always seems to be able to get this close, but never really be able to close the deal.
Yeah, that was, for me, this year was his most impressive race.
Yeah.
To me.
Oh, I agree.
Consistent.
I'm trying to put the best picture on it that I can, because I know that this is a kid that was hired by Stewart-Haas Racing based upon really a whole lot of promise, and we haven't really seen it pay off as much.
Yeah.
But it is strange because last year and this year, he does seem to be warming up as we get into the summertime and doing better. Yesterday, they qualified for the Xfinity Series race today at Road America. He got into the second round. He actually, if I remember right, he's in the second row with Cole Custer.
Check it out here real quick.
Cole Custer.
Starting lineup by row. He's actually P3.
P3, okay. So, yeah, he's second row, which is great.
Yeah, he's on row 2 with Cole Custer.
I'm waiting for him to close that deal. I'm waiting for him to find his way in that 98 to victory lane. That's what we're waiting on.
Yeah, he's close. There's no doubt.
It's always just, again, that seems to be the story of his life. Close, but not quite gaining that cigar. Ty Gibbs 4th, Sam Mayer 5th, Ryan Preece, Jeffrey Earnhardt with a good run, Austin Hill, Ryan Sieg, Brett Moffitt round out your top 10. In the playoffs, or in the points, Ty Gibbs, your 1 seed. He's got 3 wins. A.J. Allmendinger, Justin Allgaier, Noah Gragson, Josh Berry now have all 2 wins on the season. Brandon Jones, Austin Hill locked into the playoffs with a win each. Those in on points, Sam Mayer, Riley Earpst, Daniel Emmerich, Landon Castle, Ryan Sieg. And unless something happens outside this top 12 where somebody wins that we're not expecting, here's your lineup. Because Sieg holds a rather commanding 69-point lead over Anthony Alfredo for that final playoff spot. Something is either going to have to go seriously wrong amongst Mayer, Earpst, Hemrick, Castle, or Sieg, or somebody outside the top from 13 on down to 30 is going to have to win a race that we don't expect.
And I'll still stick to my guns of what I've been saying. The really only one real shot, with outside of today being a remote shot, real shot of that happening is Daytona.
Yeah, because if you look at, they're at Road America today. They go to, is it Mid-Ohio?
No. They don't go to Mid-Ohio this year.
That's right, it's the trucks.
It's, doggone it, where do they go next? New Hampshire.
Okay. So
no, check that. They go to Atlanta next week.
Okay. Atlanta, maybe.
Possibly.
But, because of the new rules. But really, if you look at what we're seeing inside the top 12, those guys that are in the top 12 are really good at road course racing.
Yeah.
Really, your best bet, I tend to agree. It's going to have to be a Daytona. Maybe in Atlanta based upon the new rules, but I'm less certain of that.
At the rate they're going, it's going to be really, really hard to knock Junior Motorsports off their perch.
Oh, good God. They're on a pace right now to have a record number of wins on the season for the organization, so we'll have to see how that works. From Nashville last Saturday afternoon to South Boston, Virginia last Saturday night, SRX Series got in race number 2 of their second season. If you watched the heat races, specifically the second one, you knew something was kind of brewing under the helmet of one Anthony Wayne Stewart, who confronted a friend of his, rather heatedly, after that heat race, and then a rather fiery and, well, let's say not safe for work post-heat interview, all related to a run-in with one Ernie Francis Jr., in that second heat race. Smoke said in the interview, edited for this show, obviously, quote, "They pissed off Uncle Tony right now, so they're about ready to get a dose of that they don't want. Trust me, I know every dirty trick and I've got it in my bag." I mean, when you're following somebody and a guy's on the outside and as soon as he gets clear, he just turns down across, that's the dumbest blank you can do. I swear to God. It's like I'm just done playing nice with everybody. Anybody that touches me, I'm touching back times 5. I'm done jacking with some of these clowns. And you and I were going back and forth because you and I were watching it.
Yep.
And I sent you the text, and I said, "Here, this is paraphrase because I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, here comes Tony for the win." Because when he gets that kind of attitude, when he gets that kind of mindset, he's out for blood.
Because I know my response was, well, Anthony Wayne Stewart has entered the chat. That was my response.
Indeed. He started the main event on the front row. He swapped the lead a little bit with Marco Andretti before the Indycar veteran actually spun out. It opened the door for Greg Biffle to try to contend for the win, but while he could close in on Smoke, he really couldn't make the pass stick. The defending Superstar Racing Experience champion claims the win, one which Stewart did not credit to being ticked off, but he actually credited, to his credit, to the fans. Quote, "It's not like I need much motivation, but when you got the fans of South Boston cheering like that every time you get the lead, by God, you're not going to let them down." That was a nice crowd, by the way, at South Boston.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Stewart wins, Biffle second, Bobby Labonte third, Ryan Newman fourth, then the first week winner, Elio Castroneves in fifth, Tony Kanaan, Ernie Francis Jr., Marco Andretti, Ryan Hunter-Reay. Local racer Peyton Sellers, not really all that impressive on his turn. He just couldn't seem to get a handle on the car, is what he was basically saying.
Yeah, I told you that the cars that he's used to running around there are about 200 less horsepower than what he was running.
Right.
So it was a horsepower ratio.
So his experience there, as opposed to Bubba Pollard at Five Flags, his experience didn't matter that much. It was just total unfamiliarity with the car, and Bubba just adjusted to the car better.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
2 drivers who didn't finish, Michael Waltrip and Paul Tracy. Paul Tracy's that guy that you just kind of got a feel for, because the funny thing is both Paul and Tony were ticked off after heat races. The difference is that Tony was able to focus. Paul couldn't seem to focus in on what he needed to do. He became that bull in a china shop and tried to hit everything but the pace car.
Yeah, and then he ended up getting caught at the wrong place at the wrong time. When Ray got loose and knocked him in the wall.
Exactly.
That's one of them things. But look at the way they drove for the Heat 1 starting lineup for tonight. Oh, buddy.
Yeah, and this is a random draw, by the way. It's not based on points or anything. It's a random draw.
Because tonight, your all-star driver in the field tonight is a modified driver, Matt Hirschman. Mm-hmm. And then filling in...
By the way, this is Stafford Speedway.
Stafford Speedway, yeah. You've got Justin Marks filling in for Helio Castroneves.
Yeah, we'll talk a bit more about that in a while.
And then swapping ride tonight is Tony Kanaan and Haley Deegan.
Okay.
But reading the starting lineup for the Heat from 12 to 1, Ryan Newman, Paul Tracy, Michael Waltrip, Tony Stewart, Bobby Labonte, Marco Andretti, Greg Biffle, Justin Marks, Matt Hirschman, Bill Elliott, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Haley Deegan.
Haley starting on the pole for the Heat.
Haley on on the pole for the heat.
We'll find out how that works. Ryan Newman's your early points leader in SRX with Bobby Labonte 5 points behind him, 65-60. 58 for Tony Kanaan. Tony Stewart up to there with 57. Remember, they get points for their heat races as well. Greg Biffle, 54. 51 for Marco Andretti. 31 for Ryan Hunter-Ray. Elio Castroneves, 25, tied with Michael Waltrip. Ernie Francis Jr. holds 22. 21 for Bill Elliott and Paul Tracy in the back with 17. Bubba Pollard, as they are one race drivers, and Peyton Sellers do not count in the standings. Mm-hmm. Sunday's racing action began. The NHRA running the finals of the Summit Racing Equipment Nationals. Norwalk, Ohio. Josh Hart pairing off against Mike Salinas. Top fuel final. Salinas getting a big edge off the light. Big win at the other end. 3.706 elapsed time, 333.58 miles per hour. Fourth win already of 2022, but only the seventh win of his top fuel career. Now is when he has really lit the fuse, and he is doing very, very well in his career. So congratulations to Mike, who actually takes the division points lead with that win. Mm-hmm. Erica Enders, Aaron Stanfield, again the competitors in Pro Stock finals, in Pro Stock car, I should say. Enders dropped the hammer well ahead of Stanfield at the light, made it pay off at the other end. Wins with a 6.627 elapsed time, 207.88 miles per hour. That's her fifth win of this season, 38th of her career. And then it came down to Angel Sampey against Joey Gladstone in Pro Stock motorcycle finals. Slight edge to Sampey on the fine off the light, and she expanded it all the way down the track. Wins with a run of 6.861 seconds, 197.13 miles per hour. That's her first win of this season, but it's her 46th career win. And over in the factory stock showdown, Bill Skillman against David Barton. Skillman gets smoked on reaction time by Barton, but powers by 60 feet. Tells me might have had a problem getting it hooked up over there for Barton. Claims the win. Skillman does 7.810 ET, 177.07 miles per hour.
Yep.
As noted, Mike Salinas took the top field points lead. He's now up 12 over Brittany Force. Steve Torrance 109 back. Justin Ashley 110 down. Austin Prock 308 points out of first and fifth. Needs a telescope to see first. Erica Enders extending her Pro Stock car points lead, 105 points now over Aaron Stanfield, and then a big jump down to Kyle Koretsky, who's in third, but 252 points back. Dallas Glenn's 338 back, and sitting 355 out is Greg Anderson. We could go all the way to 10, but the person who's sitting in 10th needs the Hubble telescope to see first.
Yeah.
Steve Johnson continues as the Pro Stock motorcycle lead, up 52 on Angel Sampey. Karen Stouffer's 55 back. Joey Gladstone's up to fourth, 103 out. Angie Smith sitting 105 out of first and fifth, so that's about the closest first to fifth amongst the top divisions in Camping World Drag Racing Series. And finally, in the Constant Aviation Factory Stock Showdown points, Bill Skillman's your new points leader. He's up 8 on David Barton, courtesy of that win. 134 over Lenny Loddig. Aaron Stanfield, 177 back. David Janik, 182 out. And then the Cup Series began a long day's journey in tonight that we witnessed about half of. Mm-hmm. Starting the race, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central Time, but they didn't get done until almost midnight Eastern Time, thanks to 2 Mother Nature red flags, one of which could have been considered kind of questionable.
Yeah.
They've got that rule that says if you got a strike of lightning anywhere within an 8-mile radius of the track, it red flags.
See, here's the kicker. I don't know what radar system they were using, but the little system that I have on my mobile device known as Radar Scope, one of the most popular radar systems used on iPhones. Mm-hmm. I can take and put a little dot, as I showed you in Matt Coulter, put a little dot on exactly where I'm sitting and do a mileage out either way. The first one that was in question, there was, and I have lightning detection, and it is very accurate too. Pulled lightning up 12 miles away.
Oops.
12 minus 4 is 8.
Yeah, 12 to 8 is, you're still left over with 4. So you got a gap.
4. We got a little bit of a gap here. What are we doing?
That was about a, 50-minute delay altogether?
55 minutes, yeah.
If they had the same equipment that you did, which obviously they didn't, and had kept going, by the time we had the second one for a legitimate downpour.
Oh, legitimate's an understatement.
They would have been past halfway.
Well past.
But either way. at the beginning until the rains came, washed out the track on lap 139. Had to get to lap 150, by the way. It appeared that it would be a Joe Gibbs Racing kind of race. Denny Hamlin dominated off the start. Then Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch charging up through the field to the front and brought Christopher Bell along with him. And it actually seemed like it was going to be the case even after the track dried. Despite all the rubber being washed away, they started running out front again. But as you got later on in the race, specifically down to the point where you had just 10, 15, 20 laps to go, Josh Bilicki blows his engine, causes obviously a pit call. Question is whether you're going to pit or not. Because at this point in time, I think we were under 10 laps, correct?
Yes, we were actually at, I think, 6.
I was thinking 9, but 6 might be right. Anyway, then leader Chase Elliott chose to stay out while all the Joe Gibbs Racing cars came down for tires. In the end, it was 10 cars that stayed out. As mentioned, all 4 Joe Gibbs cars coming down there on that short run. All those cars, 10 of them again, on older tires, kind of clogged up the pipeline, kept them from being able to move up to challenge Elliott. Elliott actually had the oldest tires of the entire field when the checkers finally shone, but he claims his second win of the year. Over Kurt Busch, Ryan Blaney third, Kyle Larson fourth, then Ross Chastain. I think Ross Chastain was the highest on new tires.
Mm-hmm.
Denny Hamlin, Austin Cindric, Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick. 5 drivers now holding 2 wins on the year. Led by Elliott, Ross Chastain, Joey Logano, William Byron, and Denny Hamlin. Again, these are the guys that are locked into the playoffs. Other guys who are locked into the playoffs, at least for now. Your single-time winners are led by Kyle Busch, then Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, Kurt Busch, Austin Cindric, Chase Briscoe, and Daniel Suarez. And then you got the 4 open slots, the 4 that are in on points. They're led by Ryan Blaney, then Martin Truex Jr., Christopher Bell. Kevin Harvick's back in. He jumped over his Stewart-Haas Racing teammate Eric Almirola and now is above the cutoff line, or Eric Almirola is below the cutoff line, by 9 points. Looking at those points, Blaney and Martin Truex Jr. are much more than a race above the cutoff line. They seem, even without a win right now, they seem safe.
Yeah.
Christopher Bell, a little more questionable, and obviously with less than 10 points separating 16 and 17, that final slot is still up for grabs. And if we get, like we have been seeing so far, another first-time winner on the season, now all of a sudden both Kevin Harvick and Eric Almirola, assuming it's neither one of them, are out fighting to try and get into the playoffs, which is weird to think for a 2014 champion. And Eric Almirola, who has been a winner before, not necessarily consistently, but we've seen him in victory lane before. Right. And he does tend to run very, very well. We saw him like a house on fire at the beginning of the year, and he seems to be finding that rhythm again now.
Yeah.
So somebody's going to get left out of this. They're going to be scratching their heads going, we missed out on a great opportunity. I can see it coming.
Mm-hmm.
Question is who's that driver going to be?
Yeah.
This weekend's racing begins in Marrakesh. Formula E back in action with the Marrakesh E-Prix. They're running on the Moulay El Hassan International Circuit. 12 turns, 1.24 miles long. It airs on the CBS Sports Network today, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time. Then the Xfinity Series takes center stage. They're going to run the Henry Run 180 at Road America. 14 turns, longest road course that you run, 4.048 miles long. Up in Wisconsin. Airs on the USA Network and MRN Radio beginning 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Central Time. Tonight, race 3 of the SRX Series heading to, as we noted, Connecticut. Going to run at Stafford Motor Speedway, airing on CBS 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central Time. Busy weekend continues tomorrow morning. Formula One back in action. Very first series race right there. Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. 16 turns, 3.66 miles long on that road course. ESPN has your coverage starting at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central Time. Then we go from Formula One to Indycar. They're going to run the Honda Indy 200 in the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course. 13 turns, 2.258 miles long. NBC and IRN are covering the race beginning at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Central Time. And that brings us to the Cup Series running on the same Road America course as Xfinity does later today. It's the Quick Trip 250 presented by Jockey Made in America. Someone will get the funny feeling they're not going to say that every time they announce what race they're talking about. Airs on USA and MRN Radio, begins 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time. Camping World Truck Series, Camping World Drag Racing Series, both off. I know that our flagship station in East Alabama does both IndyCar and NASCAR. I assume they're going to run IndyCar to its conclusion and then join NASCAR in progress if that's what's needed. I don't know that 110%. Maybe the fine leader of this flagship station, Mr. Grady Sapp, will tell us before the show's out.
I could actually see that happening because I went to that race last year in Mid-Ohio, and it did not take long to run it.
Yeah.
They ripped right through it pretty quick.
Yeah. So, I mean, you might miss part of the pre-race on MRN, maybe, but you should be able to go from race to race, pretty much.
It's true. I mean, there's some folks we won't mind listening to on MRN, and some we really don't care about. I ain't going to get in that subject, but hey.
We'll just leave that right there.
We'll leave it right there on break time.
Speaking of which, let's go ahead and take that break. When we come back, we are going to talk a little bit about something that we mentioned pretty quick at the end of the show last week without much detail. But Joe Gibbs Racing now has 3 of his seats set. We'll talk about the third, and it's still up in the air, 4th seat when we come back. We're just underway right here on CRN.
Stay right.
Schwarzenegger?
I'm coming back.
I'll be back. Yes, he will. 2023 will mark the 42-year-old's 18th year in the Cup Series, bringing a nice resume along with him. 31 wins, 2 Xfinity Series titles, 2017 Cup title as well. Means Joe Gibbs Racing now has 3 of their 4 seats covered, and now they can turn their attention to the big fish of the 2022 silly season. That is still the unsigned Kyle Busch. And he's been unsigned since his sponsor, since coming to Joe Gibbs Racing about 15 years ago, M&M's Mars. They said they were leaving at the end of this year. Joe Gibbs has said he wants to make sure he has the sponsorship for the 18 before he actually does any deal with Kyle Busch. To me, if I'm Joe Gibbs, I'm signing Kyle Busch, then I'll worry about the sponsor.
Yeah, because it would do no good if you got a really good sponsor for the car and somebody slipped in and got him, say Storehouse or whoever. That would look really, really, really genius move.
We've talked about the pipeline for Joe Gibbs Racing. Yeah. Let's assume for a moment that Kyle Busch goes anyplace else. Doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. We'll just say he's not going to be back in the 18 next year.
Right.
Who's the best candidate to take over the 18?
Ooh.
Because I don't think it's Ty.
It's not.
Ty's not ready.
No.
And Joe has said he wants to give him one more year in Xfinity anyway.
If he shoved him into the Cup, this is another Joe Logano situation.
Yeah, and he's not going to do that to his grandson.
No.
Because his grandson's been given all the rope in the world in order to either succeed or hang himself.
I mean, you've got 6 Cup cars for Toyota.
Mm-hmm.
Five of the 6 are basically filled.
Yeah, because we're pretty certain Kurt Busch is coming back too.
The only, outside of Ty, the only one person you got set in Xfinity that could remotely beat anybody anywhere close, and I use that term real loosely, is Brandon Jones.
Not sure he's ready. He's more ready than Ty, but that's not saying a whole lot.
He's too inconsistent.
Yeah.
I mean, you
got an inconsistent driver, and you got a bull in a china shop who's still trying to smooth the rough edges off.
I mean, if you dipped any lower, my next closest one, and I would actually put this one over Brandon Jones, is Jonathan Nemechek.
I could see that because he's got Cup experience. We saw what he was able to do. It kind of seemed to spur something of a revival over there at Front Row Motorsports when he was the rookie.
It actually did spark it up.
Yeah. I mean, it really seemed to kind of light their fire over there, even though he was only there for a year. And it's continued on. Last year, obviously, Michael McDowell gaining the Daytona 500. And this year, the team is doing quite well. They haven't got a win, but they've been doing quite well for a team that we used to call a back marker.
Yeah. I mean, Michael McDowell's having a career year right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it overall, yeah, he had the Daytona 500 last year, but this year he's had a much more consistent year.
Very consistent, and actually, can't believe I'm actually saying this. I thought I'd never say it, but Front Row is a consistent top 15 team, if not top 10.
Yeah, I don't think you or I ever really thought we were going to be saying that. So congratulations to Bob Jenkins and everybody over there for doing a great job of building that team solidly. They have themselves on a very solid foundation, and that's starting to show on track.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got Roush Fenway Keselowski, who just can't seem to get to 5th gear, which is still weird to say 5th. The latest 4-race suspension for losing the wheel during a race does go to the number 17 Ford Mustang, Chris Buescher, more specifically crew chief Scott Graves, the rear tire changer, and the jackman because of what happened at Nashville last weekend. And then there's this, and you and I are both collectors to a certain extent. We both have die-cast collectible collections, plus we've got T-shirts and hats and things like that. Strangely enough, I don't have any Dale Earnhardt Sr. cars. Now, I've got some other things, but I don't have any cars. Mostly because in the aftermarket, they're quite expensive.
I've got one in particular.
Yeah?
I won't say which one, because people may try to want to fight me for this car. The serial number on this car is 004.
Ouch. Early run. early in the run. Anyway.
And it's not going anywhere.
Oh, I understand. And it doesn't matter. Dale Earnhardt, he may have passed away 21 years ago, but he's still as popular as ever when it comes to collectibles. Die-cast collectibles, again, hot commodities on the secondhand market. New T-shirts and hats were produced long after his passing, but several years ago, for the most part, that pipeline kind of ended. And NASCAR said that they want to reconnect that pipeline, so they're working with the late seven-time champion's estate to produce new licensed merchandise for NASCAR team properties. Now, the estate is run by his widow, Teresa Earnhardt, and they have been working together to, according to a report out of the Sports Business Journal, take a more quote-unquote curated and concentrated effort to bring Dale Earnhardt product to our fans. What form those products might take isn't yet known. In other words, can they find other die-cast cars which have yet to have been produced? Probably.
Right.
Certainly T-shirts, certainly hats, more than likely jackets.
Those uniform jackets, yeah.
You know, those three are the more obvious. Again, I think you could probably find some Dale Earnhardt cars that had not been produced before. But that's starting to get a little thin.
Yeah,
I mean,
it'll be tough.
What are you going to do? You're going to go out and produce every single race win car that he ever had?
That would be brutal.
You know, I think they already did all the championship years.
Yes.
So that's out. So all those are already in the market. There's a lot of race win cars out there, don't get me wrong.
The most popular race win car that I know of personally is his number 5 car from Talladega.
Was
the last win.
The last race win. That one and his, I believe they did his Daytona 500, one Daytona 500 win.
Yes.
Those to me would be the two most popular ones, but obviously there are others. All-Star cars would be huge because they came up with some great specialized paint schemes for Dale Earnhardt for the All-Star races.
He had the best ones, hands down.
I would agree. I mean, they did a great job with it.
I mean, it was something you never knew what was going to hit until they actually announced it. What's he going to come up with now? And it started with that Atlanta 1996 car.
Yeah, and they were all, quite frankly, about as stunning as when they pulled the wraps off of the black with the silver. If you remember that, the numbers were actually silver when they debuted the Man in Black look.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody just went wow over that. And all those All-Star cars seem to be kind of the same thing. So it'll be interesting to see what it is that they do come up with if they can come to final terms, which I don't imagine will be all that hard. It's just a matter of kind of paying pretty close attention to it. And remember, there's a lot of fakes out there, folks. If it doesn't have NASCAR properties on there, you're buying a ripoff, just to let you know. So pay close attention to who it is that manufactured what it is that you're buying if you're a Dale Earnhardt fan.
Right. I wholeheartedly agree.
To the Xfinity Series, and they've been hinting at this for a few years now, but there's still not a timetable for it. Speaking of Dale Earnhardt, in this case, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Junior Motorsports continues to contemplate moving up to compete in the Cup Series. Here's the latest on that. According to Kelly Earnhardt Miller, who's co-owner and vice president of the team, it seems kind of like more of a when than an if based upon a recent interview on Sirius XM satellite radio where the sister of Dale Earnhardt Jr. said, quote, "We're thinking about it every day. We're working on it. It feels like every other day. We do want to go Cup racing. We believe that's a good spot for us. We want to stay in the Xfinity Series too, so you know what that looks like is certainly up for grabs."
I see them going to 2 cars and 2 cars.
Okay.
2 and 2.
I can see that. But here's the thing. There's obviously a holdup. What is it? She answered, quote, "That's just really what we're trying to work through and figure out. Right now, we're focused on re-signing our guys for Xfinity for next year, re-signing our sponsors, and then if we have the opportunity to do, keyword, some Cup racing and kind of put our toe in the water and see. I don't think we'll be Cup racing full-time for 2023. That's for certain, unless something amazing happens and something really awesome falls out of the sky. But right now, our sights are set beyond that, and we're really just trying to figure it out." And admitted later on that the biggest hurdle for Junior Motorsports to go Cup Series racing on a full-time basis is the cost of charters, which we've talked about. When they first came out, there were a good number of them out there because NASCAR was in that transition. Mm-hmm. Well, interest in the series has reignited, obviously, and you got Live Fast, and you got Trackhouse, and you got all these other teams that have suddenly come in and or expanded 2311. Sorry, not 23 by 1. I'm sorry, I'm not letting that go.
I love you, Patrick.
So you got all these new teams that have come out there. They all had to get charters. 2311's got 2. Now you got Trackhouse with 2. Live Fast has got 1 that I know of.
Yes.
And all that charter pool suddenly tightened up and shrunk.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, you got a bunch of teams that have 4 cars, you got several teams that have 3 cars, and a number of 2-car operations, and suddenly the number of charters drops real fast. And that means what? Welcome to capitalism, boys and girls. I know school's out, but here's your quick lesson in capitalism. It's called supply and demand.
Bingo.
When there's a big supply and there's low demand, the price goes down.
Bingo.
When there's little supply and big demand, price goes up.
Did I say bingo?
Now guess what round we're in? We're in little supply, big demand. Last we heard, prices north of $12 million per.
Let's ask Matt Carver. He bought 2 of them like it wasn't nothing.
That's true too.
Last year.
Forgot about Colleague Racing. They just added theirs as well, and that's a 2-car team.
Yeah. 1 car, 1 full-time driver, the other all-star driver.
Yep. But 2 full-time charters.
Yeah.
That wasn't a cheap layout.
No.
So, yeah, that's the hurdle right now. They want to make sure they're solid in where they are. And again, we just mentioned it a little while ago, about a segment ago now, about 20 minutes, that Junior Motorsports is on track to have more wins in a season than they've ever had as an organization in their history. You don't want to get rid of that base. You want that base to stay right where it is so that you have that, as we talked about when it came to Front Row Motorsports, that solid foundation.
Yep.
And then you can go build upon that solid foundation. It's what Cowlig Racing has done. Quite frankly, it's exactly what Trackhouse Racing with Justin Marks and Pitbull did. They came in, they had their 1 car, they saw an opportunity to go get a solid organization from Chip Ganassi Racing, and it made their organization even that much stronger. They're all built on solid foundations. Correct. Michael Jordan's got more money than he knows what to do with. 2311 is fine.
Yeah, 2311, he ain't going nowhere no time soon.
If there's a question, Matt Colleague is fine. We don't have to worry about it. If there is a question, and I really don't think there's that much of a question when it comes to it, it might be Live Fast. Because we haven't seen the performance. The money seems to be there for now, but the performance doesn't seem to be following just yet.
True.
So we're going to have to keep an eye on them. We've been watching Spire because they've been playing, with charters all over the place.
Charter roulette.
Yeah. But they seem pretty solid in wanting to have 2 full-time cars. And Corey LaJoy, to his credit, is doing quite well.
He's managing with what he's got.
Yeah. So it's the other car, the 77, that we're kind of sitting there going, I don't know what you're planning on doing with it, but they just continue to run All-Star. They continue to use that as their All-Star car. So I don't know.
I don't know if I'd call it an all-star car, but hey.
Well, it's, for lack of a better term,
yeah.
They just keep running drivers through it constantly. How's that?
There we go.
So, yeah, I guess time will tell. Again, I understand where Kelly and more than likely Dale, because every time Dale's talked about it, he seems to be right on the same page as Kelly has been, of we're not sure what we're going to do just yet. We think we want to go, but we got to make sure that it's the right move.
Yep.
And I think they're playing it the right way.
Yep.
One more bit of news, and that's where part-time NASCAR driver Akinori Ogata has been chosen by NBM Motorsports to run 2 Xfinity Series races this year. The number might be familiar to you, but you really would have had to have paid attention over the past literally several years of NASCAR competition. He's going to drive the number 13 at New Hampshire and again at Texas. This will add to his 3 career Xfinity Series starts. He has run 1 Camping World Truck Series race this year. He did it for Rayon Brothers Racing at Darlington, but finished 36th. Is that more the truck or the driver? Or a combination?
That's more the truck.
Truck, gotcha. He has been running some select races in the U.S. since 2012, everything from K&N Pro Series East, trucks, and Xfinity, again, for about a decade now. He just seems happy running occasional races. He's not really fighting to get full-time.
Well, he's doing considerably well in a late model in Hickory. Sure. He's won several races this year at Hickory already.
And he's just taking opportunities at the upper levels of NASCAR whenever he gets it.
Yep, he sure is.
Can't blame him for that.
No.
Going to take a break. When we come back, we'll turn our attention to the Camping World Truck Series. We talked about Kyle Busch as a Cup Series driver. We'll talk about Kyle Busch's team, Kyle Busch Motorsports, when we get back right here on CRN. And look up CRN Live. You can check us out there as well.
Oh, yeah.
So if you know of a friend who is a big fan of racing and can't check out the flagship station from East Central Alabama, that's the best way for them to do it.
Yep.
Go to YouTube, check out CRN Live. We appreciate you doing that. Subscribe, too. Tell your friends. Kyle Busch Motorsports is looking for a new hauler driver. No, sorry, it's not a race car driver there, Matt. NASCAR issued an indefinite suspension to one Tony Waters. Waters, the driver of the hauler for the 4 truck, due to violating the substance abuse policy. They didn't give any more details than that, but he'll have to go through the Road to Recovery program before he can be reinstated. We'll have to see whether or not he's able to do that. I would say probably so. Most people have been able to do that pretty well. And again, we don't know what it was. He could have taken something that had an ingredient that was on the banned list, and that's what he tested positive for. It could be worse. We're not speculating. We're just saying we have no idea.
Right.
Then there's this. GMS Racing making some moves. And this affects ThorSport Racing as well.
Yeah, this one raised my eyebrow.
Grant Enfinger, driver from Mobile, Alabama, getting a familiar face and voice for a new crew chief in the middle of this year, and it is effective immediately as Jeff Hensley takes over calling the shots on the 23 truck. Hensley has over 35 years of experience in NASCAR, and as a crew chief has 18 wins in trucks and 11 more in Xfinity competition. Mm-hmm. And this actually marks his third stint as a crew chief at GMS, previously having called the shots for Spencer Gallagher in 2016. He also called the shots for A.J. Allmendinger and Chase Purdy in 2021. He and Enfinger were also paired as crew chief and driver from 2017 through 2020, while both of them were over at ThorSport, where in 2020 they made the final round of the playoffs, taking on, ironically, 3 GMS trucks for the title. Enfinger currently 11th in the series standings. He's below the cutoff line. This means that Hensley had to depart ThorSport again to move over to GMS Racing again. And this leaves Matt Crafton without a crew chief. Again. Or for now. Bob Pockris of Fox Sports reports that in the interim, ThorSport has chosen shop foreman and former crew chief Bud Hafley to take over beginning at Mid-Ohio and for the foreseeable future. Let's start at Grant Enfinger. Again, these two are comfortable with each other. These two made the finals at ThorSport in 2020. Mm-hmm. Is this what Grant Enfinger needs to go from just on the outside of the Camping World Truck Series points to the inside of it and make the 10-truck playoffs?
I say yes, because he's been, more than I can remember, he's been too up and down.
I agree.
Way too up and down. And he's too consistent.
As a general rule, yeah.
Yeah. He's too consistent overall. So I think this will kick the spurs in the saddle.
Settle him down, because we've talked about this, and you're the resident driver, but even I know this. The ability to know what your driver is talking about as a crew chief, and as the driver to know what it is your crew chief is saying, right, without having to go, can you repeat that, is huge.
Yep.
Massive. These two have that communication down.
Yep, they do. And that's massive. So,
okay.
We'll see.
Let's go to Matt Crafton now. Matt Crafton's just inside, but he's not comfortable there.
Right.
They didn't seem... we've heard nothing about ThorSport having any problem with this move, so that tells me they were thinking about making a move or needing to make a move. The question is Bud the right guy? I mean, experience is one thing, but have they worked together before? And if they did, how good did they work together? Well, was it well, or were they,
I don't, this is rare for me to say, but I don't know. I really don't know.
This is the unknown right now.
It's way too much of an unknown.
I mean, we're talking about a 3-time champion who is still really a threat almost every single week to win in a Camping World Truck Series race.
Yeah, but the one thing I thought, when I saw this, the one thing I thought of is, while trying to find your permanent replacement, your 5th truck that you randomly run on the one-off here and there with Johnny Sauter, mm-hmm, who's your crew chief for that one? Mm-hmm. Junior Joyner.
Mm-hmm. Talk about experience.
Who worked with Crafton for many years and won the championships.
Sure.
Junior Joyner.
So why not move Joyner over to Matt Crafton and make the part-time?
Yeah, I mean, get him the fill-in until you get a permanent replacement, then go from there.
We're not privy, obviously, to the inside workings of what goes on at ThorSport, or quite frankly, any other shop.
Right.
This is us, you and I, in this case, since producer John is off this weekend, kind of speculating or questioning without knowing. Mm-hmm. How much... I mean, Matt Crafton, he's got to have a lot of pull at ThorSport. I mean, basically, with 3 titles to his name and all the wins that he's got to his credit, Matt Crafton can practically write his own check.
Yes.
How much of a say did Matt have in saying, I'll take Bud over, say, Junior Joyner? Or did he have a say at all?
It looks like to me he didn't have one. What it looks like.
Which seems really, really odd because, I mean, if you're losing a crew chief and we need to find you another one, if I'm the owner of Thor Sport Racing and you're Matt Crafton instead of Matt Nicholson in this case, I might be pretty tempted to come to you and say, hey, listen, here's the situation. Jimmy Hensley's gone. We need to figure out what we're going to do. I'm sorry, Jeff Hensley's gone. We need to figure out what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Because I'm certainly, again, you've got 3 titles. You got, I can't even remember how many wins right offhand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting rid of you. I'm pretty much going to let you tell me when you're done racing, and then I'll start looking for another driver for that particular truck. I would think that I'd want to trust my driver enough to go, who is it that you would prefer? And here are your options. We've got Bud over here who's basically sweeping the floor as the shop foreman / former crew chief.
Mm-hmm.
But I know you've worked with Junior Joyner before. I could pull him off of the part-time role that he's with Johnny Sauter, and I could give him to you, and we could put Bud over there on that, the 13 truck for Sauter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just me.
No, I don't disagree with you. That would be my thoughts too. But I don't know, man. It's just you got Junior Joyner laying over there, waiting in the wings, but you pull the shop foreman out. Didn't add up. So what that tells me is something was there from the past, had to be, to where Junior Joyner may have said, no. Kind of that reaction.
Familiarity brings contempt, so to speak.
Kind of. Yeah. Kind of. If you want to word it like that.
I mean, I hate to say it that way because we don't know. Again, that's pure speculation. We don't know whether they get along well or don't get along well. We're just saying that it seems odd to us that you've got a guy like a Junior Joyner who has worked with Matt before.
Right.
Regardless of Bud's former crew chief experience, it just seems odd because, again, you want to have that communication ability between crew chief and driver. And if they worked together before, chances are they worked out the ability to know what each other is saying without having to question it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So
we'll find out.
That's all you can say is we'll find out.
Yep.
And see if it works.
Well, ever since really the beginning of last year, we know Justin Marks is the majority owner of Trackhouse Racing along with rapper Pitbull and others. But Marks, you might remember, began his time in NASCAR as a driver. And he's about to get the chance to get behind the wheel once again. Truck's going to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and Marks will be driving the Nice Motorsports entry, the number 41 Chevy Silverado. Marks, who's now 41 himself, has 79 starts in the top levels of NASCAR, including 38 Truck Series starts. This is his first time behind the wheel at the top level of NASCAR since 2018, though.
Being a road course and seeing that he's won at Mid-Ohio, I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Okay.
So now that makes that I know of at least 2 immediate threats because of the little team. This home base is right down the road from the flagship here.
Mm-hmm.
This filed an entry blank with a pretty good road course ringer getting in the truck.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Can we say?
Connor Mozak, which he got in the Xfinity car and the 18 car and finished second at Portland behind A.J. Allmendinger. So when I was looking at entry stuff for just browsing the roster list for races and upcoming races, just see who's doing what, and I saw that, I went, ooh.
Mm-hmm.
I immediately went, ooh.
Yeah. And we know that 32 truck can do really, really good things. We've seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of the driver, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Not trying to make any disrespect.
No, that's
not my intent.
It's the huge amount of potential that lays there.
Yeah, I mean, they've built a really, really good organization, and they are attracting really, really good drivers, including the guy whose name is on the team.
Yeah, I mean, and I worded this like this to his sister yesterday when I saw this, which his sister being my wife. Here you go. Back, it was in 2014 or 15. I can't remember which one. But when Grant Enfinger won the ARCA race at Pocono in his car,
mm-hmm.
that put him on the map.
Right.
Okay. Brett in his own respective right when he won Kansas, the ARCA race.
Mm-hmm.
That put him on the map, catapulted him to the championship that year. And with his truck series ventures that he's had so far, he's had his ups, he's had his downs. That's the nature of the beast.
Sure.
Okay. His ups being he was right there in contention for the win at Talladega last year, and then that accident happened in turn 3, the last lap.
Yeah.
Nature of the beast. But with taking away the bad luck that Ty Dillon had at Phoenix last year,
mm-hmm.
you take that away, extremely respectable run, and it vaulted the eyeballs that way.
Oh, yeah.
But now go a road course with a road course ringer that has success on road courses.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the shot to take the truck series operation to catapult it to the next level. My opinion. It's the shot, the opportunity is there to catapult them to that next level.
Okay. It'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, it will be for sure. I'll be glued to that one.
And speaking of Justin Marks, as we just did, we wrapped up NASCAR news talking about Justin Marks getting back to racing. Well, even before that, even before he gets back into a NASCAR truck, he's actually going to get back to racing, and that's tonight. As you talked about during the race recap, and as we kind of started to look at the lineup for heat race number 1 tonight, you noted that Justin Marks is going to be driving, filling in for Elio Castroneves tonight in the SRX Series race up in Connecticut. Castroneves has a scheduling conflict. He's racing tomorrow at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in the NTT Data IndyCar Series. So this will be Justin Marks' first attempt at the Tony Stewart Ray Evernham created racing series. This will be interesting. And I find this also fairly interesting because it's not like Mid-Ohio and Connecticut are all that hard to travel between if you've got the plane that I'm quite sure Elio Castroneves has. You said they're already out there on track at Mid-Ohio.
Right now, 26 minutes left in practice.
So that tells me maybe qualifying is going to be later on enough to where Elio couldn't make it between Mid-Ohio and Connecticut?
It's got to be.
Because that's the only thing I can think of.
It's got to be because, I mean, running through the lineup now, I mean, I don't know where Tony Kanaan is. He's not in there. He's not.
But we also know that Tony Kanaan's not racing tonight in SRX.
Right. I mean, you've got, let's see, Rosenquist, Rossi, VK, Power, McLaughlin, Lundgaard, Harvey, Newgarden, Erickson, Lucas. Wow, the top 10's jumping like crazy right now.
Sure. It's still early.
Come on, get the graphic over there.
Live computer.
Yeah, live. Castroneves just jumped to 5th. Callum Millot just jumped to 7th. I don't care about the telemetry with McLaren. Get it off of me. Come on. But
we presume Tracy's on the entry list. I mean, not Tracy. Kanaan's on the entry list? That's a presumption, though.
That's what I'm trying to look for. I don't recall seeing his name. I'm just making sure I didn't overlook it.
I was trying to remember. Is this the year? Is he only running ovals this year?
I think.
And if that's the case, then yeah, he'd be out of the car.
Newgarden, Erickson, Grosjean, Daly, Kellett, Sato. Now they're going to go to break.
Of course.
I didn't see his name on the entry list.
Okay. So it's a curiosity now as to what it is that Tony Kanaan is doing that we keep him from. We know what Elio's doing. He's dealing with the IndyCar race. I understand that. He's full-time over there. Go do that. Okay? Why Tony Kanaan's not running SRX if he's not in the IndyCar race seems to be the bigger question.
I don't know.
We're hoping to get a phone call here from one Bob Sargent. He's the race promoter for next weekend's Superstar Racing Experience race at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Hopefully we're going to have him when we come back. Let's go ahead and take this break here. You're listening, hour 1 down, hour 2 to come on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back into the show. Hour number 2 just getting underway. Hoping to have the chance to talk to Bob Sargent before the hour is over. We'll see what we can come up with. In the meantime, we continue on with some of our news here, and we are to the NHRA. Kind of appropriate that the NHRA ran last weekend in Norwalk, Ohio, because it allowed them and the track to celebrate the life of one Bill Bader Sr. Bill Bader Sr. is credited with resurrecting that facility from being a dormant and potentially torn down nothing of an entity. Bought the track back in 1974, began a series of improvements all over the facility. He repaved the racing surface, he redid the grandstands, he expanded the parking spots for fans, he just did improvements over the course of his time as the owner, and it impressed officials with the IHRA enough to where he hosted notable races for them through the 1988 season, including the Halloween Classic and something called Night Under Fire. Well, Bill ran the track himself through the 1988 season and then turned the track over to his son, Bill Bader Jr. After that, he served for a short time as president of the IHRA, which is kind of still in existence, but we just don't hear about it that much anymore.
They're awfully quiet.
Yeah. 2007 is when Norwalk joined the list of NHRA member tracks, and they were immediately put into the national event schedule. They've been on the slate each and every year, save for 2020. That was obviously because of stupid COVID. Bader was all but retired and working around his home when he suffered an injury that ultimately took his life. Late last month, Bill Bader Sr. was 79 years old. I didn't get to see it, but I'm sure that they did take some time last Sunday and they honored his life and his memory. Just like what we saw last Sunday night when we were at Nashville Fairgrounds. Remember, Nashville Fairgrounds has been bought and is now owned by Speedway Motorsports Incorporated, and we know that Bruton Smith passed away. They had Darrell Waltrip come over, and he gave a really, really cool remembrance and a prayer in honor of Bruton Smith, who was a really, really good friend of his.
He did.
They worked together very, very well, so it was really, really cool to see that.
No doubt.
Indycar, as you noted, they are in practice right now in what is a wet Mid-Ohio.
That is F1.
Oh, I'm sorry.
F1's qualifying in the wet right now.
Okay.
Mid-Ohio's dry as a bone.
Nice. At least we got that going for us.
Yeah, no doubt.
We'll talk F1 here in a little bit. And we'll kind of keep an eye on what's going on. But you noted something down towards the bottom of the speed charts in practice when it comes to IndyCar?
Towards the bottom, yeah. And it much to the right of one John Myers. It's an updated cycle through again. But towards the bottom of the speed chart, not even 5 minutes ago, of course, is one Jimmy Johnson. But he is sandwiched in by Tatiana Calderon and Simona Di Silvestro. Simona Di Silvestro has been in the car twice this year.
Yeah.
All right, updated. They are now ahead of Jimmy Johnson. He is dead last. Tatiana Calderon is 25th. Simona Di Silvestro is 20th. Excuse me, check that. So Di Silvestro just went to 25th. Calderon is 26th.
Johnson's 27th.
27th. He is 5/10,000ths of a second behind Tatiana Calderon.
Something's got to change over there.
Might be time when you uncinch the helmet. When you uncinch that helmet, it may be time to put it on the hook.
I mean,
or get back in the stock car.
We've seen him have flashes where he does well. Unfortunately, the only 2 times we've seen him have been at tracks that he's familiar with because he ran them in NASCAR. That's Texas and at the Indy 500, where we saw flashes. Again, I'm not saying that he was a contender at the Indy 500, but we saw flashes of what he's capable of.
Yep.
You put him on a road course, he seems lost.
I saw this firsthand last year. And to maybe new listeners that may not have heard me tell this story, when I went to Mid-Ohio to the Indy 200 that they're at this weekend, went there last year, I stood on a point to where they call their fan zone area is in the middle of the track. It is on a high point where you've got a pretty good field of vision when you're coming down to the straightaway to the corner known as China Beach. You got a 400, 300, 200, and 100 foot marker before you break into the corner. drivers like Romain Grosjean, Alexander Rossi, Marcus Ericsson, the ones that have ran F1 before, were charging the corners and braking probably, I'm going to say, at the 125 foot mark. Johnson was letting off and braking at the 350 mark.
Way too early.
125, 350. Big difference. 225 feet.
Yeah. I mean, he's letting off almost 3 times earlier than anybody else is.
Yep.
And that's creating a problem. He just does not seem comfortable or confident in that car. I mean, for the splash that he made for going over there, he is mighty uncomfortable behind the wheel of that car. And I'll be honest with you, I don't see it changing. I really don't.
And I don't, because of him bringing these sponsors in and basically can call his own shot. Chip Ganassi's not going to do nothing.
No. As long as the money's coming in and cash a check.
That's the notoriety for the team.
Yeah. And as long as the sponsorship continues and the checks cash, he's got no reason to pull Jimmy Johnson out of the car.
Yeah.
But if I'm Carvana, which is his primary sponsor for the most part, but if I'm any one of them, truth be told, I'm now starting to question, how much longer am I going to stick with this? Because I'm not getting the performance on the track that I need.
I don't know. It's really, really, really hard to say. Really hard.
And I guess the other question is and maybe there's not, I don't know. Is there anything the other Chip Ganassi Racing drivers can do? I presume that they probably have already talked and maybe tried to coach Jimmy Johnson. Maybe.
Outside of Tony Kanaan and Scott Dixon, I don't know.
I mean, if I'm Chip Ganassi, I'm talking to Scott Dixon and I'm saying, hey, listen, you and Jimmy, maybe let's go find a road course somewhere and let's put you two out there kind of like we saw in Days of Thunder. Yeah. You run 50 laps your way, then you run 50 laps my way. Let's see who's faster.
And you buy dinner at the highway joint after.
Sure. And probably find that, well, I can almost guarantee you that you find that Scott Dixon's way of doing it's a heck of a lot faster than Jimmy Johnson's.
What they need to do is put Johnson in Dixon's car, put Dixon in Johnson's car, see where the disconnect is. Let Johnson get in Dixon's car.
And see if there's anything vastly different from his car to
Bingo.
Johnson's car.
Bingo.
And you'll probably find out that Scott Dixon runs it just as fast as he does on his own.
Bingo.
In other words, or in other news from the IndyCar Series, ESPN's own ESPY Awards are coming back around again. Remember, this is aired on the one of 2 days that there are no major league sporting events happening in the country. Okay? You get those 2 days right around the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. The Saturday before, there's no football, there's no basketball, there's no hockey, there's no baseball. The day after, Monday, there's no football, baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever. Okay? So they run the ESPY Awards on that Monday night. They've got a best driver category again. Here's your candidates. And they're all defending champions. IndyCar's 2021 champion, Alex Palou. He's facing off against Formula One's 2021 champ, Max Verstappen. Cup Series 2021 champion Kyle Larson, and the guy who I will admit I have voted and voted for, 4-time defending NHRA champion Steve Torrence. No disrespect to Verstappen, Larson, or Palou, but you win 4 straight titles, you ought to get the award, in my mind.
Yeah. Yep.
You can vote in the category and others as well by logging on to espn.com/ESPYs and then scroll down. You can find the individual categories and vote in as many as you want, or vote in only one. The winner will be announced in the televised ceremony July 20th on ABC. Starts 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central Time, if you're into that sort of thing. If you're not, we'll tell you who won the next weekend.
Yep.
Racer.com reports that the Rocket sponsorship payments from AJ Foyt for the AJ Foyt entries have been consistently late. That's the first we've heard about Rocket, because Rocket is pretty well involved in racing on several different levels. This is the first time we've heard of them having problems getting their money to the teams that they're sponsoring.
Yeah.
Team president Larry Foyt, son of the IndyCar legend, told Racer.com that all 3 cars are there today, will be at Mid-Ohio. He said this earlier on this week, with drivers Dalton Kellett, Tatiana Calderon, and Kyle Kirkwood in the 4, 11, and 14, respectively. Rocket is a primary sponsor on the 11 and the 14. The 11, with Calderon, is the one in the chopping block since Calderon only drives the road and street courses and not the oval track races. Larry Foyt did tell the site Rocket has expressed interest in returning as a sponsor in 2023, but it looks like you got to smoothen things out and maybe get your checks to AJ Foyt Racing on time, Rocket. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah. That helps.
Seemed like the obvious thing to say, but we're going to say it anyway, just for giggles.
Yeah.
Other teams that are looking ahead to 2023 as well, well, here we go. Chip Ganassi thinks things are pretty much going to be the same next season as they are this year, where he has plans to field a 4-car operation. 3 of those drivers are signed through 2023 at least. They are Marcus Ericsson, Alex Palou, and Scott Dixon. Jimmy Johnson is actually not signed past this year, but Ganassi, performance notwithstanding, believes that is set to happen soon. Again, as long as Carvana and whoever else it is signing the checks and they're cashing, I'm Chip Ganassi. I'm probably willing to go ahead and put that in the bank and put the car out on the track, even though that's a non-performing car for all intents and purposes.
Virtually.
But again, Chip Ganassi wants to win. I would think Carvana would like to have better results than what they're getting.
Mm-hmm.
How long can this go? I hate to beat a dead horse, but practically that horse is almost dead.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Yeah, that horse is virtually almost dead for sure.
That horse is certainly on life support, in my mind.
Wow, good job, Dalton Kellett. Way to drive it straight into the flipping wall. And talk about a fall from grace. This is neat. Talking about the Peacock broadcast.
Yeah.
This is neat what they're doing because Townsend Bell and Lee Diffie are not in the booth. They're roaming the course.
Oh, okay. That's different.
Townsend Bell is talking to Dalton Kellett's spotter and talk about a fall from grace.
Uh-oh.
Ryan Briscoe.
Oh, wow. Last I heard Ryan Briscoe behind the wheel, he was behind the wheel of something at Le Mans?
Yes.
So he's racing from time to time, but, I mean, this used to be a guy who was a consistent contender for wins in the IndyCar series.
With Penske.
Yeah. And he all but disappeared from IndyCar. Now he's a spotter in IndyCar and running sports cars. Oh, by the way, if the last name sounds familiar, if you watch ESPN and you note the host of the Formula One races, Nicole Briscoe, they're married.
He don't have much to worry about because she's making bank at ESPN.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's doing just fine.
She's making bank.
She's doing just fine. He's not doing too bad, truth be told. He's still, running some high-level sports car stuff, but it's different from IndyCar. Let's face it.
Mm-hmm.
And doing a spotter bit. Back to this bit of signing of specifically Scott Dixon. It is kind of nice to note that he has been signed by Chip Ganassi Racing because there had been rumors that Dixon, who is signed through next year, was in preliminary talks with McLaren about moving over to them for 2024, investing in the team at the same time. What we heard about this when it came to Brad Keselowski, for example. Keselowski went to Roger Penske and said, hey, listen, I'm kind of thinking about my future after I'm done driving. I'd kind of like to become an owner. Could I buy into part of Team Penske? And Roger basically said, yeah, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
Went over to Roush Fenway, and they said, sure, we can make that work because he's kind of being groomed to take over, kind of like Jeff Gordon's being groomed to take over Hendrick Motorsports. Eventually, it's going to be Brad Keselowski, and the Cat in the Hat will retire and head off into the sunset.
Right.
This is what Scott Dixon, purportedly, was kind of up for. He was going to be a part owner in McLaren, which how many part owners can they have? Right now, it's Arrow McLaren Racing SP. Suddenly, it would have become Arrow McLaren Racing SP, Schmidt-Peterson, with Scott Dixon?
I don't know. I mean, McLaren's got to be, it must be swimming in money and wanting to be swimming in more money.
Yeah, well, either way, Dixon squashed that whole thing. He told motorsport.com, quote, I haven't been part of any of these conversations, so not really sure where a lot of these things come from. Obviously, people talk. I've even gotten a few messages from people asking about the same thing. If people are having these conversations, I haven't been part of them. That's all I've got to say, really. There's nothing to it. So again, they look like everything's going to be going on this year and into next year over at Ganassi. As for Team Penske, planning on pretty much the same thing, soldiering on into 2023, remaining a 3-car operation. Remember, they ran 4 last year, but scaled down by 1 for this year. Seems to have given the team a bit of a boost. They've now got 5 wins on the year in the 8 races so far. Of course, Joseph Newgarden's pretty much the leader of the pack on that. But you got Newgarden, you got Will Power, you got Scott McLaughlin, and that has Penske basically stating he doesn't see any changes coming for 2023. Going to keep all of them. They're all under contract through at least next year. Penske says he wants them all for longer. And you know what? I don't blame him, because if I got that lineup, I get it. Will Power is the... I hate to use this phrase, but it's the appropriate one. He's the old man of the group.
Yeah.
Okay? But he's still performing at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep him around, kind of like if you're Chip Ganassi with Scott Dixon. I'm going to keep him around as long as he's performing. I'm going to let you write your own ticket. If you want to go for another 5 years, you're welcome to go for another 5 years. Let's work out the deal and let's get it set in stone. Am I off base on that?
No.
I didn't think so.
You're not. Not at all.
And again, Newgarden's already a 2-time champion. Scott McLaughlin came out this year like a house on fire. He's last year's Rookie of the Year. If they can find consistency in that car, which I honestly believe that they're going to be able to get, Scott McLaughlin becomes a consistent contender for wins and then titles.
Mm-hmm.
All you need to do is smooth that out over there. I think that's the 3-car.
Yep.
That's all you got to do is just smooth it out. Because he's got the talent as a driver. He's got the pit crew that I know that Team Penske puts out there every single week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a matter of figuring out exactly what is it that you're missing, get that fixed, and boom. You've got 3 cars that not only contend for wins, but 3 cars that could win titles.
Yep. You absolutely could.
So yeah, if I'm Penske, I'm going, let's see what we can do about signing some extensions, boys. Make it happen. Texas Motor Speedway has made a deal for the winners, not just in Indycar, but in NASCAR as well. We'll tell you all about it, because you could actually have exactly what the winners get. What are we talking about? We'll let you know about it next, right here on CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
The temperature is hot, but the deals are even hotter at Toyota of Silicaca during our sizzling summer sale down. Our entire lineup of cars, trucks, vans, SUVs, and crossovers are waiting for you with our hottest savings of the year. That's right. We're here to get you the best deal possible on every new Toyota and pre-owned vehicle in stock. We have truckloads of new Toyotas arriving daily. Get here now so you don't miss out. Plus, we have the largest pre-owned inventory in the Coosa Valley with over 1,500 vehicles to choose from. Shop right now at ToyotaofSilicaca.com. We offer more selection, more savings, and more affordable monthly payments every single day, period. 100% credit approval is our #1 goal, no matter your past credit history. Plus, join our VIP club at Toyota of Silicaca and receive 7 years of oil changes, complimentary tire rotations, a 3-day exchange policy, $500 off your next purchase, 10% off parts and service, and much, much more. All
want to let you know about one of the sponsors here that brings you portions of today's show, talking about Ox Foundation Solutions. And yeah, here in East Central Alabama, we're looking at pretty sunny skies. Temperatures have kind of leveled off versus the extreme heat that we saw last week, and for the past couple of weeks before that, we were in some cases above 100 on the thermometer. Forget the heat index. All of that, though, plays havoc because, especially when you get into the summertime, you go through these heat cycles where we get really, really dry for a little while, and then you get these massive downpours. And we're talking getting like 2, 3, 4 inches within an hour to 2 hours. And all of that wreaks havoc on the ground. And if it wreaks havoc on the ground, it means it wreaks havoc with the foundation of your house. Mm-hmm. Don't take chances with it. Call, set up an appointment, or email and set up an appointment with Michael Hart at Ox Foundation Solutions, 205-362-6419. If you live anywhere in the state of Alabama, north, south, east to west, we don't care where it is, they can go all over the state. Set up an appointment. He'll come out, give you a written foundation assessment that has no cost to you and no obligation to you. And you find out whether or not there's something wrong with the house. Don't you want to make sure? I mean, think about how expensive a house is nowadays. And it's only going to get more expensive. I got to think about it last night. My wife and I bought a house back in 2003 in Alabaster. We bought it for $110,000. That house just got sold again within the past few months. $270,000. Same house. Oof. Think about that. That's your house. Could be your house. We're talking about a massive investment that keeps going up in value. But if you got a problem with your foundation, it's going to go down in value. You don't want that. Nope. 205-362-6419. Email him Mike at oxfoundations.com. If there's something wrong with it, he's going to have it in writing. He'll explain it to you, and he'll explain the cost that he estimates. Then you say you heard about it right here on CRN. You mentioned the promo code WEST, 15% off. What you got to lose? 205-362-6419. Mike at oxfoundations.com, telling you heard about it right here on CRN. Hey, Texas Motor Speedway. If you've ever watched the Victory Lane celebration in Texas, pretty cool. All the tracks have their own kind of different ways of doing things. At Texas, you win. You get to play cowboy.
Yes, you do.
You get a cowboy hat and 6 shooters. Now, granted, the ones that they're firing in Victory Lane are blanks, but still, it's a merchandising opportunity. So if you really like the hats that the winning drivers gets, you can get them too. Because the deal has been cut with the American Hat Company. The track and the company announced this week. So no, it's not Stetson, just to let you know. It's the American Hat Company. Go look him up. Robert Wickens. We haven't talked about him in a while. For those of you that don't remember, his Indycar career appears to be over sadly after he was cut vastly short by a serious crash at Pocono his rookie year of 2018 with what is now Arrow McLaren Racing SP. The crash that he was involved in popped his car up into the air and into the catch fence, which tore literally all the pieces off the driver's tub. The driver's tub, with him strapped into it, slammed flat down onto the track, and that compressed his spinal cord, making walking pretty much impossible at the beginning, and even today, it's very, very labored 4 years later. But he is back into racing. Here's the cool news. With the use of special hand controls, he's racing sports cars with Brian Herta Autosport with Kerr Bagagini Racing in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge Series. They're running in the TCR class. His team worked with Hyundai for over a year to put out a specially prepared racing Elantra that would get him back into the driver's seat. It's fitted with hand and foot controls for his racing, but also foot controls because it's a longer race that requires at least 2 drivers, as it was last weekend at Watkins Glen. Mark Wilkins teamed with Robert Wickens, and they claimed the class win at Watkins Glen last weekend. Great news.
Yep. And he's had an even better week. His wife gave birth to their first child.
That's fantastic. It's fantastic here because for a while we weren't even sure that Robert Wickens was going to live.
Yeah.
And now he's back to racing, and his life seems to be getting back to somewhat normal. So fantastic to hear Robert Wickens from everything that we ever heard. I've never met him. I can't say for certain, but from everything we ever heard, stand-up class guy.
I've heard the same thing as well.
So, we want nothing but great things for him. We continue on our thoughts and our prayers on the road to recovery for you there, Robert. Formula One. Running around in the wet over there, huh?
Little bit. Q2 is rolling.
Okay.
And when we mean the sky is falling, the sky is literally falling. Because we had Williams make Q2, and it was not Alex Albon.
That's weird. But it's good news for Williams at the same time, because we've been wondering when Nicholas Latifi was either going to find himself out of a seat or find it so hot that they actually came out and performed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is qualifying. Again, this isn't the end-all, be-all. Can he make it translate into a race?
I don't know. I mean, he's right now sitting P4.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Now, I like that view that they just put up. The Sky Sports just had a visor cam of Lando Norris in the rain.
Remember, they don't have the shield. They don't have the arrow screen that Indycar has. They've only got the halo. So it's whatever. It's right on. It's splattering right on the visor.
It's whatever it is, and the way it's doing, it doesn't look like it's Rain-X. But whatever they've got on that visor, that water is blasting and beating right off.
Okay, then good.
Clear view as a bell.
I wish I knew what they had, because I'd like to put it on my windshield.
I wish I knew too.
All right, so what are we into now? What are they in? Q2?
Q2 with 10-12 left to go.
Who's out?
Right now, if it was to stop abruptly, the 5 that would be out of Q2 would be Ocon, Verstappen, no, it just changed. Norris, Ocon, Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton.
Okay.
If it was to stop right now.
Hamilton. Hello.
And that just changed because Verstappen just blasted a lap that's 1 second faster than everybody else in the rain. Yeah. About that.
We'll keep an eye on it as we go on through. Let's talk other Formula One news. Formula One continues to plan for the future, and according to series officials, they are trying to be carbon neutral. I hate that phrase. By 2030. With part of that, they say, is a transition from fossil fuels to synthetic fuel for 2026. You're more in tune with this than I am. I mean, obviously we have synthetic oil. I run it in my car. Mm-hmm. Synthetic fuel? Got to admit, this is a new one on me.
That is a new one on me.
So you don't know that much about it either?
I don't know that much about synthetic fuels.
Okay. It'll be interesting to find out how this goes along. 2026, by the way, is the same season the new hybrid engine is supposed to make its debut in Formula One, and Formula One is hoping to lead the way using synthetic fuels, thinking that it could become a car industry norm shortly after they begin to use it. Time will tell, because if you look at it, Tesla's out there, and you've got several other car companies that are out there that have built their base on being all electric. Ford's talking about being all electric by 2030 or 2035. GM wants to be all electric by 2035. Basically, it seems like we're going away from internal combustion engines, synthetic fuels or not.
Here's the definition of a synthetic fuel. And I'm just now reading on this. Synthetic fuel, or syn fuel, is a liquid fuel, sometimes gaseous fuel, obtained from syngas, a mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen, in which the syngas was derived from the gasification of solid feedstocks such as coal or biomass by reforming of natural gas.
So it's still kind of a fossil fuel, truth be told.
To a degree.
But probably a little bit less polluting, if that's what they say that they're trying to go for.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Talking about willpower just crashed.
Oops.
Yeah.
Hate when that happens. We'll keep you updated on that. I mean, we still got about not quite 30 minutes left in the show. Three-time F1 champion Nelson Piquet, who won his titles in the 1980s, apparently got under the skin of one Sir Lewis Hamilton with comments recently made about his rivalry with Max Verstappen. The 23 race winner was being interviewed for a podcast when he compared the 2021 clash between Hamilton and Verstappen to the 1991 between Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna. During the interview, he used a word which in native Portuguese, which Nelson Piquet is Portuguese, to describe Hamilton, which he said roughly translates into guy or person. But when you look up the phrase, according to the Urban Slang Dictionary, it is, or can be, considered the equivalent in the United States of the N-word. Take that as you will. That said, Piquet said he did apologize for any misunderstanding, said he did not intend to use the term in an offensive manner, but added, quote, "It was ill thought out and I make no defense." He continued on by saying, I would never use the word that I've been accused of in some translations. I strongly condemn any suggestion that the word was used by me with the aim of belittling a driver because of his skin color. I apologize wholeheartedly to anyone that was affected, including Lewis, who is an incredible driver, but the translation in some media that is now circulating on social media is not correct. Discrimination has no place in F1 or society, and I'm happy to clarify my thoughts in that respect. However, Formula One has still made the decision to ban the three-time champion, who won his titles in 1981, 83, and 87, from their paddock. And Lewis Hamilton has, of course, decried the whole thing as well. I say this, and I understand that there are translations out there of this, but I did look up the word. Again, if you go urban slang, yeah, you can go to the worst extent of it.
I'm looking at it right now.
But if you look at the actual translation, again, this is not a direct, but it roughly translates into guy or person if you take it straight forward. You got to understand where the person's coming from when they say, and take it from how they mean it, not from going to an extent of, well, from what I know that word is this. We're not taking it on a case-by-case basis. We're taking this with a zero-tolerance policy. Zero-tolerance policy means zero latitude. And you get a three-time champion, 23-race winner who now can no longer show up at a Formula One race?
All right. I'm going to channel, see if I can do this again. Channel my inner, one of your coworkers that you work with, channel my inner Dixon here.
Okay. I'll sit back and relax on this one.
When you look at that, no, let me just back up. Let me just say it and be blunt. It is the problem with society today in general. Everybody is so gun shy and so sensitive. Just, oh, you said that, or you said that, or you said that. Seriously? Seriously. What happened? What happened to thick skin?
It's gone.
Now, let me back up and say this. I don't care who you are. Where are you from? Yes, there's no place of flat out, blatant discrimination, racism.
Sure.
Nowhere.
I agree.
Nowhere. But with how things have elevated like they have, and it's unfortunate. I ain't not going to say unfortunate. I'm just going to say it like it is.
It's sad.
Lewis Hamilton needs to shut up and drive the car.
Yeah. He's way too, his concentration's way too divided now, and it's showing on the track.
Way too divided, and yeah, it's showing big time because you're putting your focus in your mind here, there. Yes, there's nothing wrong with being a philanthropist, or however you want to word it, in whatever you want to do it in.
Sure.
I don't have a problem with people doing that. I never have. I never will.
But understand what got you to the point where you can actually be that philanthropist.
Right. But when you take it, some things to the level that he's taking it, I got to disagree.
Working.
It's not working.
I agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
And you're killing your career.
Oh, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Lewis Hamilton is, let's face it, towards the end of his career. Okay? Mercedes brought him on, and rightfully so. Look at what he's done. The man has reset the Formula One record books in just about everything except for a number of titles, and he's tied at the top of that.
Yeah.
Dude's got 7 titles. As of the end of last year, 101 wins. That's the all-time F1 record. He's got the all-time record in Formula One poles already. One more title, and he's got the all-time record in all of that. And it basically, when you look at a Formula One record book, all the good records have Lewis Hamilton's name beside it.
Yeah. I mean, all of the...
But Mercedes, and I'll be honest with you, all 9 other teams, they're only going to put up with a lack of performance. Read our conversation with Jimmy Johnson just a little bit ago.
True.
They're only going to put up with a lack of performance for so long before they go, you know what, we need to find somebody else who's going to get behind the wheel and get us wins.
Very true.
And I don't care if you got 100 wins and 7 titles. If you ain't performing now, it's what have you done for me lately, not what did you do for me 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 3 years ago, or even 2 years ago.
Right.
What are you doing now?
Right. The bad part about this overall, and this is not just motorsports, but this is sports in general. Sports has become too politicized and too sensitive. We're making sports so stinking political that some of it's becoming unwatchable.
Yeah. I mean, there are things in this, there are things, and I'll use just the United States of America in this, even though I know we're talking international with Formula One. There are things that we like to do here in the United States of America that give us a chance to escape.
Bingo.
We watch television. Unless we're watching the news, we're watching programs to have an escape from the real world for 30 minutes or an hour or however long. Mm-hmm. If we go to the movie theater for an hour and a half to 3 hours, depending on how long the movie is, we're trying to escape from the world. If I'm watching a sporting event, be it a Formula One, Indycar, NASCAR, SRX, NHRA event, whatever it is, or if I'm watching football, baseball, basketball, hockey game, soccer game, whatever it might be, mm-hmm. I'm trying to escape.
Exactly.
For the 2 to 4 hours or however long it takes for that event to go through its process. Mm-hmm. I don't need to be slammed over with a whole lot of, I believe in this, I don't believe in that.
Right.
I may or may not agree with you. Mm-hmm. But that's not why I'm a fan of yours, and that's not why I came to go see this race or this sporting event that you're involved in.
Right. If
same thing for concerts, by the way.
Yeah. I say we're up against the break.
Yeah, we are.
If you look at it comparing when all this mess started a couple year or two ago, the two loudest ones were Lewis Hamilton and Bubba Wallace.
I agree.
Who has toned it down and actually shut up and drove the car?
Oh, yeah.
Bubba Wallace has toned it down a lot.
And look at the performance that Bubba Wallace has had. I mean,
it is picking up.
Think of, put aside anything that you might have as far as lingering resentments from what happened at Talladega a couple of years ago. Put it aside. Just look at his on-track performance. If we took away names and said driver A, driver B, and driver A was him from 2 years ago and driver B is him from this year, mm-hmm. you realize exactly how good Bubba really is.
He's drastically improved. If you take away all of the blunders that his pit crew has had, and that's what I'm going to word them, blunders.
Yeah.
That's the rated.
Kind of the Kevin Harvick thing on the 4 car.
That's the rated G version. Actually rated Y7. The blunders. You take those away,
he might never win.
He's in the playoffs.
Yeah, he might have a win.
He's pointed his way in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, I agree.
He had a great rebound last week at Nashville, mm-hmm. Up to 12th.
Yep. And if you look at his performances at Daytona and Talladega, he's a really good super speedway driver, and it translated to Atlanta too.
And I'm telling you, he's going to be a threat at Atlanta next week.
So get your prejudices out of the way from what happened a couple of years ago at Talladega. And understand the driver.
I think Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan have sat him down and said, "Shut up and drive the car."
Uh-huh. And somebody needs to do that with
Lewis. And it's paying off.
Somebody needs to do that with Lewis.
He's got to do it.
Somebody's got to. Then there's this round of upgrades. We'll talk about that when we come back because Mercedes did a big one, and it does seem to be paying off.
Yeah, because Q3 just ended.
There you go. So we'll talk about Q3 in Formula One.
Q2 just ended.
I'm sorry, Q2.
Sorry.
We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about cars bringing upgrades, one of which might be a little questionable. Talking about Red Bull, too. Hang on. We'll be right back on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
Celebrate Independence Day this year with spectacular savings at Greenway CDJR on Quinchard Avenue in Anniston. During our Independence Day sale, you get 0% APR financing, plus $1,000 bonus cash, plus no monthly payments for 90 days on most 22 Ram 1500 models when you finance through Chrysler Capital. Looking for an SUV? Get 0% APR and no payments for 90 days on 22 Jeep Compass and Grand Cherokee WK models with Chrysler Capital. You'll see fireworks with huge savings during the Independence Day sale at Greenway CDJR in Anniston.
This Friday and Saturday, your Chakawaka model.
fast segment of the show.
I'm telling you.
Wow. This is flown by. Still in Formula One news, where teams are beginning their latest round of upgrades and updates to their cars and or engines. Red Bull might have the most notable one, at least when it comes to visuals. They added some flares to the bodywork alongside the engine cover that some people are referring to as shelves. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Kind of creates a new airflow over and around the car, specifically over and around the engine cover, and brings it closer in body form to their sister company, AlphaTauri. So if it looked familiar, that's the reason why. AlphaTauri was already using it. Why Red Bull didn't go to it automatically, don't know. Why Red Bull decided to change, I'm also not sure of, because what we know about Red Bull so far was the fact that they have had a winning car all year. But you just said Q2 has ended. How's Red Bull looking after Q2 in the rain?
Yeah, and if they would give me my power line back where I can give an accurate lineup, they're staging for going out for Q3 now. The first thing that's going to roll is both Ferraris and the Alpha of, I don't know which one it is, but...
If I were to guess, it'd be Valtteri Bottas.
Let me just go old school here. All right, here's a graphic. Actually, no, it's Zhou Guanyu.
Oh, wow. Okay, then.
Going into Q2 the way it is Q3, excuse me. Verstappen, Hamilton, Leclerc, Sainz, Russell, Norris, Alonso, Perez, Zhou Guanyu, Nicholas Latifi.
Wow. So both Haas F1s are out. Where are they?
They are in the bottom third. They're below 16th.
Ouch.
Yep.
They're going to have to find something.
They barely missed, though. Barely.
Those two are going to have to find something, though.
Yeah, that rain is wreaking havoc. And what is Nigel Mansell doing in the Ferrari uniform? Wow.
Over at Mercedes, their changes apparently have, again, they previously had said they've solved their porpoising problem or at least had it under control, but they still brought a rash of changes to Silverstone, noting a revised front suspension, new side pod vanes, a new floor, and a new rear wing. It seems to have worked. At least going into qualifying, it seems to have worked. We'll see. After the second practice session yesterday, the aforementioned Lewis Hamilton said, quote, "It's bouncing still quite a bit, not necessarily in a straight line, but through the corners. It's pretty harsh, not physically harsh, but just like in the car, on the tires and everything. So we still have work to do, but it does feel like a small step forward. We just got to keep working." Hamilton said that he thinks that the car is still slower than the Red Bulls and the Ferraris, but based upon, and again, rain can sometimes be a great equalizer. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not this holds true in dry weather, whenever we get to that. Probably not in Britain. His teammate George Russell seemed more upbeat than Hamilton. He said, quote, "We were a lot quicker, and by the end, when the tires warmed up, we were quicker than the Ferraris. By the end, they were tailing off, and we were just improving lap after lap. There are some positive signs, but like Hamilton, he said, definitely room to improve, I'm sure." But he did note that there was a lack of porpoising versus the races prior to this year, and he called that one positive sign.
Yep, something that just flashed up on my social media from Bob Procris.
Okay.
At Road America, and is tied to Formula One.
Oh, okay.
There is an F1 driver on the grounds of Road America.
Is there really?
With Team Hesburgh, and is hoping to do one of the upcoming Cup races on a road course in the next couple of months, and NASCAR has approved him to do so.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Trackhouse Racing and Project 91.
That's not Kimi Räikkönen.
Well, we've already talked about Kimi Räikkönen.
He's already approved.
Yeah.
This is the second one that's approved. Daniel Kvyat.
Oh, really?
With Team Hesburgh.
Here's going to be the interesting hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Kvyat's Russian.
He is.
This will be interesting to see how this all works out.
You got a point. I didn't think about that, but you do have a point.
It'll be interesting to see how this works out. Don't get me wrong. I'm not holding Daniel Kvyat responsible for what Vlad Putin is doing to Ukraine. Okay,
unless he's got U.S. citizenship.
That may be true, and I don't know. I haven't looked it up. So if you want to take the time to look it up while we're doing this, maybe he has decided not to run under the Russian flag, and that is certainly a positive in his favor. So we'll have to find out. In the meantime, while you're looking that up, I'll continue on where officials with Formula One and the British police jurisdiction of Northamptonshire wow, can we get in a longer name? Have learned that there could be a protest plan for this weekend. It seems to have some intent to try to disrupt the British Grand Prix tomorrow, and therefore they've issued a plea. They went to social media to issue a plea, the police did. They would like the group that wants to, and they didn't mention who the group is, let's just say that. They want that group, though, to work with authorities on a proper way to protest whatever it is that they want to try to make people know about. And without identifying the cause, police tried to let the potential protesters know that going out onto a live track during a race with some 300 to 400,000 people expected to visit the track over the course of this weekend is probably not really a good idea. They stated in their social media post they'd be willing to work with them to allow a peaceful protest, but warned about the dangers of disrupting the race. The statement, which is credited to Northamptonshire Chief Inspector Tom Thompson, reads in part, quote, "We have received credible intelligence that a group of protesters are planning to disrupt the event and possibly invade the track on race day. First of all, I want to appeal directly to this group of people and strongly urge you to not put yourself, the drivers, as well as the many marshals, volunteers, and members of the public at risk. If you're going to a live racetrack, it's extremely dangerous. If you go ahead with this reckless plan, you are jeopardizing fans." Whatever group this is that's said to be planning the protest has not replied, but Thompson continued in a statement, quote, "We are very experienced in policing this event. The security measures we have put in place are as stringent as ever, and anyone thinking of taking advantage of this race weekend to commit a crime will be caught." And he's asking the fans attending the race to report anything that they feel might be suspicious, preferring to find nothing after a report than have the chance of somebody not reporting it and ending up somebody doing something harmful.
Let me get in an F1 car, somebody step on the track like that. I'm not lifting. If you're going to be dumb enough to do that, I'm not lifting.
Yeah. Sorry. You're going down, boys.
Bono and his new wing. What happened? Some idiot stepped on the track. I plied him over.
Yep. Cut him down.
Daniel Kvyat.
Yes.
He left Russia at an early age.
Okay.
He lives currently in Monaco. He lived most of his life in Italy, but currently lives in Monaco.
So he's pretty much renounced his Russian citizenship.
Seems to be all but, yes.
Okay.
Seems
all
to
right.
be.
That'll help. All right. Good. Okay. I did not know that before.
If that wasn't the case, I don't think he would have been approved.
Probably not. So that was the reason why I was curious about it, though. A number of teams in Formula One, as we note, build cars, some more affordable than others, witness Alfa Romeo, some a little more premium, say Mercedes, and then you go high-end, Ferrari, McLaren, Red Bull. Wait, Red Bull? Yep. As of now, them too. Their first foray into building a car for the public is being called exactly what their race car is being called this year, the RB17. You pretty much got to get in line pretty quick if you want one, though, because they're only going to build 50 of them at their Red Bull Advanced Tech Campus in Milton Keynes, England.
I want to go to that place so bad.
Let me tell you a little bit about this car. It is a hypercar project. It is supposed to have a hybrid powertrain, a V8 surrounded by a carbon fiber tub, again with hybrid aspects to it that should, according to them, create over 1,100 horsepower.
Hello, Karen.
Carbon fiber tub and ground effects inspired by their F1 racer, which fits since they're both designed by the chief technical officer of Red Bull, one Adrian Newey. Again, if you're interested, you should act fast. As we noted, only 50 of them are going to be built. You know, by the way, having a very large checkbook would help. Prices started over £5 million British, translating into over $6 million US. And oh, by the way, you write the check and you got to wait till 2025 before it even starts to get built. Okay. There are benefits. Owners of this limited range of these cars will have access to the Red Bull race simulators, vehicle program development, and on-track training, and each of the 50 cars will have their service and maintenance done by the factory, presumably already paid for. If I'm paying you $6 million,
you're going to take care of that car for its life.
Red Bull team principal Christian Horner said, quote, "The RB17 marks the first time that a car wearing the Red Bull brand has been available to collectors. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Jay Leno."
I guarantee you he'll have one.
He's probably already written the check for it.
Probably already has. So we need to either next week be 2 opportunities. Take 2 opportunities. Take a legitimate shot at winning Powerball and the Mega Millions in the same weekend.
Sure. Why not?
Let's set $6 million aside after, what's it?
Taxes.
Get your taxes up front. Take them now.
Sure.
Get them out of the way.
Yeah.
Take them. Get passports. We take a little trip over to Milton Keynes.
I like it.
Write our check.
We're good.
Have the car shipped. Let's take this little bit of what you got right here. Let's clip it out via the clipping tool on Microsoft and computers. Take it, and we need to CC Brian Crichton and Russell Brown, set a closed course speed record.
I like your thinking. We reported this on the show late last week. ESPN and Formula One have come to terms on an extension of their TV rights deal here in the U.S. Sports Business Journal is reporting that the deal is worth between $75 and $90 million annually. That's a huge increase over the deal that wraps at the end of this year. It was a 3-year deal at $15 million per season. We bring that back up because this does bring into some question whether or not ABC, ESPN will get into the NASCAR negotiations. Because current deals with Fox and NBC run through 2024. NASCAR is preparing to open up talks with both networks and others who might have an interest, and ESPN and ABC haven't taken themselves out of it, but they haven't necessarily said that they're going to go for it either. But you got to remember, this is the pair of networks that helped make ESPN specifically, that helped make NASCAR so popular through the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see whether or not that outlay for them has any effect on whether or not they get into the NASCAR sweepstakes this time. Meantime, I'm sorry, go ahead.
While I have this feeling when this comes up and these negotiations start, that we're going to see CBS pull a Stuart Haas and come out of nowhere.
I think it'd be fantastic. I like their coverage of SRX. Go for it. Hulu wants in on the boom of popularity in Formula One around the world as well. Hulu is working with McLaren driver Daniel Ricciardo on, get this, a scripted series, which is set inside Formula One. According to a social media post he made this week, initial reports, according to the Hollywood Reporter, have ABC Signature, Lionsgate TV, and Temple Hill. These are all Disney-owned production houses being involved in this. They're seeking writers, but otherwise details of the series have yet to be revealed. These all follow up on the obvious, Netflix's Formula One Drive to Survive, and recently announced plans by Apple TV for a Lewis Hamilton documentary and an F1-themed movie slated to star Brad Pitt and involving Lewis Hamilton. Mm-hmm. You also have producer Michael Mann, who probably is best known for making the 1980s TV show Miami Vice. He's planning a big-budget movie biopic about Enzo Ferrari. Obviously, that'll have some Formula One aspects to it. It has names like Adam Driver from the Star Wars universe, Penelope Cruz, and Shailene Woodley attached. That kind of follows up on 2019's movie, which was Ford versus Ferrari. That dealt more, obviously, with sports cars than F1, but still. Right. We're talking about the whole racing aspect of it. So, yeah, Formula One is booming in popularity. It and Indycar are about on even terms at about 1 million per viewers per race. And then you go to NASCAR, which is 3.5 to 4 million per race on average. Mm-hmm. So it's still got a ways to go. NASCAR is still the king of the hill in motorsports when it comes to the United States of America. But the popularity of motorsports all across, NHRA, Formula One, IndyCar, they're all coming up. So
they are.
It'll be fun to watch. Mm-hmm. All right. Hope you enjoy the racing. We'll talk to you again next week as we get prepared to go check out an SRX race next Saturday night.
Finally.
Yeah. We'll get to see it in person. Y'all have a great week. Enjoy the weekend. Be careful. We'll talk to you next week right here. And happy 4th of July from CRN.
A presentation of the Championship Racing Network. Now's the best time to get into a brand new vehicle. Test drive the power of a new Ford F-150, the reliability of a new Honda Accord, or the economical value of a brand new Nissan Versa. Test drive and find your perfect fit at Sarah Automotive of Sylacauga.
The NASCAR Cup Series
puts the green flag in the air, and we're racing at Road America.
Heads back to Road America.
Oh, and here comes Bowman. He's going to jam Larson. He's going to spin him in 5.
For racing on Independence Day weekend.
Everybody is on their feet, and Chase Elliott has won here this afternoon.
It's the Quick Trip 250, presented by Jockey Made in America.